Welcome back to Thistle Hill Farmstead. My name's Todd. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. If you're coming back for more, thanks for coming back and checking out our videos. Today's video is going to be one related to our water filtration system here on the farm. We have a well on the farm, and a lot of the water that comes out of our well contains magnesium and some sulfur. And if you're not familiar with sulfur in your water, it gives it kind of that rotten egg smell. So what we had done is a whole house water filtration system put in, which is right here behind me. And it's a salt-based system, which requires us to put salt in this tank that you see here. And then there's a particle filter here that just kind of takes out the sediment. It's been about a year since we had the system installed. Now, we have to put salt in it every month or two, depending on the water usage, but I haven't changed the filter yet. And so today's activity is going to be changing that filter and topping up the salt in the tank here. So come along with us, and hopefully you'll learn something from this, give you an idea of whether you want to purchase one of these systems for your own home. And as always, remember to subscribe so that you can keep up to date with all of our videos, and ring that bell notification so that anytime we post a new video, you'll be notified. And can't forget, please like this video if you find it interesting or helpful or funny, or if you just feel sorry for me, whatever. Please press the like button. It really helps us out a lot. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to take you off the tripod here so I can show you some of the components of the system. So here is our wellhead here, and I'm in the pump house. So the water comes out of the wellhead here, goes over and then into this pressure vessel. Now this pressure vessel has a rubber membrane in it, which you pump up with air, and when the pump runs, it pushes the water into this vessel. And then when the pump gets to a certain pressure, the pump will cut off. And then that rubber membrane is what gives you the pressure from this tank out to the house. So that's where you get your house water pressure from. And then coming out of the tank, the pipe runs up here. And then what the plumbers did for me is they split this so that when I was going to do maintenance, that I would have the room to do this. So there's a valve here where I can shut off the water completely, and by default it goes up this pipe here, across, this valve's open, and it goes into the sediment filter, and then it comes back out of that, comes across, and then down and into the water softener here. The way this works is this tank is full of beads. Now I'm not quite sure exactly what kind of beads they are, like little rubber beads that attract the chemicals in your water, like the magnesium, the sulfur, etc., and they stick to those beads. So as the water goes through there, it kind of gets cleaned, and then it comes back out of the top here, and then down, and then over. And then you can't really see because of all the junk I have here on this shelf, but there is a manifold here. Maybe you can see back there. There are actually 4 valves there. Let's see if I can get down here and you can see them. Nope, I have too much junk there. But there are 4 valves there. 2 of the valves go to the house and the garage, which is our usable drinking water. And then we have a water line that goes to our garden, and then a water line that goes to the chicken coop. So you'll notice that over here, this thing kind of splits right here. And this line doesn't go through the filtration system. It bypasses all of that. And it actually bypasses the filtration system here and goes over. And that goes out to our garden and our chicken coop. Because I don't really want to take the time or the expense to filter the water that's going to the garden or the chicken coop. So the only thing that goes through this filtration system is the water that goes to When I say a garage, if you've watched some of our videos before, you know we have a 3-car garage with a little efficiency apartment, like an in-law suite above it. So that's why it goes to the garage. There's a living quarter above the garage, and that's where we lived before we built the big house, as we call it. And then the other one goes to the house. So the first thing I'm going to do is replace this. Oh, while I'm talking, I almost forgot. I'm going through the system here, but I wanted to lift this top off and show you. This is the barrel where the salt goes. And let me see if I can get this off with one hand. It's kind of tight. Yeah, there we go. So down in here, you can see there's salt. If I reach down here and just grab some, they're just salt pellets. And then there is a little reservoir here for some chemical that goes in there also. And the way this works is it will spray this chemical and spray water in here, and then it will use the water that's basically in the bottom of this tank to backwash the beads. So the beads in this tank here, as they pick up the magnesium and other minerals out of the water and the sulfur, they kind of get clogged up and gummed up. So periodically it will backwash itself, and that's what this little unit at the top is with a clock on it. It's an automatic backwash. You can get these units that have a manual backwash if you want to do it yourself, but this one is automatic. You see we have an outlet here. It plugs into this, and it does it all itself. There's another little line that runs out. You see here at the top, this is the backwash line. It goes down and around, and it actually goes out the back of the building, out where we have kind of just an area next to the greenhouse that we don't have any grass, because that backwashes kind of the salt water and all the impurities out of that. So it can kill your grass if it gets there where it's going to be. So you want to backwash it someplace where you don't care whether it's the backwash solution is going to kill your grass or plants. So it just goes out back. But part of the daily, well, I shouldn't say daily, part of the maintenance of this, whether it's monthly, really depends on how much water you use, is to keep this topped up with salt and to keep this little reservoir here topped up. You see there's a minimum line and a maximum line, and I have some of this ResCare. That's what you put in this, and we'll be topping that up. I have some bags of salt here, and this is we'll be putting those in. I have 3 bags. I'm not sure if we'll need all 3 bags or not. And then I have the new filter here that's going to go in this bad boy right here. So we'll get all that done today. I'll put you back up on the tripod. Now this is my first time doing this maintenance, so I'm hoping it looks simple. I'm hoping it's going to go easy and quick. It's worth mentioning the guys did a really good job also of giving me a bypass line here. So really, I don't have to shut off the water if I don't want to. Really what I can do here is just shut off the water and have no water to the house at all. But what they did was gave me this bypass line so I can close this valve and this valve, open this valve, and the water will just bypass this filter while I'm doing the change, and we don't really have to turn the water off to the house. So I'll try that. Like I said, it's not a big deal to turn the water off to the house while I change this, but I'll try that bypass system and just see how it works. We'll replace that filter, and then we'll add the salt and the ResCare to the reservoir here, and then we should be ready to go. Okay, I've got you back on the tripod. Let's see how this goes. I have this wrench that is from a filter, a sediment filter that we have in the garage before we had this system put in. I'm not sure. It looks a little big for this. Maybe it'll fit. Well, it'll go around the bottom. But yeah, I'll see. That'll help me to be able to twist this off and see how it goes. I'll get a, doesn't really matter here if it gets wet on the floor. This is the pump house, but if you're doing it inside somewhere, you may want to get a bucket or something to try to catch some water, because I'm sure water is going to come out of this. At least the one in the garage does. When we take it loose, there's always water that comes out. But here, I'm not really going to worry about it. I have a little towel that I can dry my hands off with when that happens. But other than that, it's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and open this valve at the top. That'll give the water the path through this way. I'm going to close this valve. So that's going to stop the water coming in. I'm going to close it on this side because that's going to stop the water from coming back this way. So now this filter is isolated from the rest of the system. It's probably still going to be a little bit of water pressure on here so that when I unscrew it, it's going to probably spew out a little bit. But we'll see how it goes. And let's see. We want to make sure this is upside down, so I want to make sure I go the right way. That is on, and this is off. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That's the way you can remember it. So let's see if I can get this loose here. I'll slide my wrench up on there. I'm going to hold it at the top so that I'm not twisting the tubing or the piping here. This is PEX or plastic tubing. I don't know if this is technically PEX or not, but it's a plastic tubing, so it's a little bit flexible. But and this is mounted here pretty firmly on the wall, so hopefully I'm not going to have any problems with it flexing too much. So here we go. Let's see how wet we get. Ooh, boy, that's tight. Okay, let me try it again. I'm kind of putting my body up against it so I can control the movement of this. I know I'm in the way of the camera, but let me try it one more time. So that's going to screw on that way. It's got to screw off. Yeah. Okay, here we go. One more time. Man. Holy moly. Whew. That thing does not want to move. Like I said, this is the first time it's been taken off, so I don't know if it comes from the factory on here or if they screwed it on when they installed it. Let's see. Man, I cannot get that thing to budge. That is amazing. Amazingly tight. Amazingly too tight, really. That should not be that tight. Good gracious. Whew, I'm gonna have to put my gloves on my hand because that little wrench is kind of digging into my fingers here. Let me try it again. Well, I just saw, and as I was moving this and pulling it, it's causing some drips here, some leaks. So what I don't want to do is to cause leaks somewhere else. But man, that thing is like really, really tight. Let's try to go this other way a little bit. Let's see if I can push. Nope, and I can see there's some. Wow. Okay. I may wind up calling the service guy for this because the last thing I want to do is break this. But I would not imagine that would be that tight. That is crazy tight. Crazy town. Crazy tight. I wish it had like two handles that I could pull on here. Just got the one. Man, no way. That's crazy. Let's try it again. Shoot. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. Man, that thing's hurting my hand. Still with that, with the gloves on. Let me put something here. See if I can cushion that a bit. So things aren't digging into my hand. Well, man, there we go. Woo! Wow, that was hard first time. It might have had some pressure or some vacuum or something. I don't know, but okay. So we got it broken loose. I hope this is not going to continue to leak right here, but if so, I'll call the plumbers back and they can come out and fix that. But here we go. So, all right, it's loose now. Let me. Whoa! Here comes the water. So let me get the wrench back off. There we go. Did any of you guys, I'm going to date myself here. Did any of you guys watch Romper Room when you were kids? The lady always had the mirror. And I see Todd, and I see Jimmy, and I see Billy. Yeah. Okay, maybe not. Another generation. My generation. But that was great, Romper Room. All right. And then this just threads off. Yep, gonna get wet. Gonna get wet. Oh boy, that's heavy too, man. Okay. Whew, that was heavy once it came loose. All right, we have a rubber O-ring, so you want to make sure you don't lose that or pinch it or do anything else. And then let me pick the cartridge up out of this, see what it looks like. Here's the old cartridge. It's not too bad. The one we have in the garage, I have okay, I want to set that down so it doesn't run. The one we have in the garage, when we would take it out, it would have a lot of really like red mud and sand and sediment in it. So that's how much was coming out of our wellhead. But maybe that was because the well was fairly new and maybe it's settled down now. But I'm going to take this outside and dump the water out so that it's not getting all over the floor here. So I will be back. So the inside of this little thing here is a bit dirty too with the sediment. Not sure how well you can see that, but I'm going to take some paper towels and stick my hand down in there and kind of wash this out and clean it out a bit. So I will do that and I'll be back. Okay, so I got my paper towels here. I'm just going to get down in here and wipe this out some. Oh yeah, look at that. So it's got quite a bit of good old Georgia clay in there. Georgia clay. Ooh, and that water is cold. Cold. Now the nice thing about having that water bypass also, you don't really have to turn your water off when you do this. So if I wanted to wash this out with some water, I could. Really don't think it's necessary. But before, when in the garage, when we had the other system, there was no bypass. So as soon as you turn the water off and pull the filter out, you didn't have any water to wash anything off with. So we had to, after the first or second time we did it, we had to remember to fill a bucket with water before we changed the filter. That way we would have water to wash things down if we needed to while we had the filter out. But here, since it's got the bypass, we we don't have that issue. Okay, let's put the new filter in, and then we'll reinstall it. Okay, I've got the canister here. Here is my new filter. Let's see what this says it is, if you guys are interested. Let me get my spectacles out. This is a 5 micron, 4.5 by 20 inch, so 4.5 diameter by 20 inches long. Pressure rating 0 to 125 pounds per square inch, or 0 to 861 kilopascals for those Europeans. Let's see. It just says it reduces scale and rust particles, coarse sand, dirt, grit, fine sand, and extra fine. So fits most standard 20-inch household. And the cartridge life is 6 months. Okay, so we've been in the house maybe a year now, and we're just now changing it. So, but you saw ours was not so bad. I've seen worse in what we've taken out in the past. So let's open this up. This one looks nice. It's nice and white, clean. It's just hollow down the middle, and it just sits in the tube here. In the bottom of this canister, there is a circular kind of protrusion that sticks up that this needs to sit down in. Let me see if I can make sure it's in there. Yeah, it seems to be. And then we will reinstall our O-ring here. And then, there we go. Now this O-ring feels like it has a little bit of grease or something on it. I guess so it'll turn or slide as you put it up in here. And I'll just check up in the inside. Sometimes there's dirt that's in the top of that. Doesn't look like this. There's a little bit, so I'll just wipe that out. Yeah, see the little bit of sediment up in here. Yeah, so you can see there's a little bit of that Georgia clay in there. Okay. Now let's thread this back on. Like I said about this O-ring, you want to make sure that thing is in the right place so that it's not pinched. And it seems like it keeps wanting to walk off there. And then this the center part will line up too. I swear that doesn't really feel like it's sitting down on that little protrusion in the bottom. Let me just make sure. Let me compare this filter to the other one and just make sure this hole here is the same size. Okay. It is the same size as the other filter, but let me show you something on there. Pull you off the tripod just a second. Not sure how easy this will be to see, but down in the center of this thing, oh, maybe you can see it. There is a little, like I said, a little protrusion that sticks up down there. I don't know if that's in focus. Maybe. It's a circular deal that this filter is supposed to sit down on. And I'm looking at, this is the old one, and you can see that this hole is not as big as that circular protrusion in the bottom. Here's the different sides. And so it's really not sitting down in there. I would think this hole in the center should be a bit bigger. Also, I noticed this when I took it out. This is where the filter was in sideways. You see how, hey Charlie, you see how this is off center here, and so the filter had shifted this way, in this direction, and it was hitting on one of the spikes that aligns this in the part on the wall. And maybe that's why it was so hard to get unscrewed, because it was, you know, I see that I had to physically tear that to when I took it apart. So that's interesting to know whether this is really the right cartridge for this thing, or whether it really matters. But the one we have in the house, it fits nicely down on to that peg that sticks up in the bottom of this container. Let me show you underneath here. And these things here are little spikes that stick up that when you put the container back on. And this is what was sticking into the top of the filter. So that means the filter wasn't exactly centered and aligned there. So that's interesting. That's why it had that tear in the corner. So I'm really curious to see how this one goes back on. We will try it out. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna drop the cartridge down in there. And I would really like for this thing to feel like it, you know, is seating onto that peg in the bottom, but it's not gonna do it just because it's not the right size. Maybe I'll ask the company, go ahead and replace this one, but because of that, this is not able to stand upright. I don't know if you can see that thing kind of wobbling around in there. So what that peg in the bottom of this cartridge is supposed to do is hold this thing centered in the container here. And that's what happened before, because it's not standing on that cartridge, it just flops to the side, and that's where it got caught here. I don't know if you heard that, but the pump just kicked on, so my wife must be using water inside. So yeah, the bypass is working. Yeah, that just is not going in there properly. Okay, the pump just kicked off. Well, I'm going to put it back on, and then I'm going to call the folks that we bought this from. They're local, and they were going to come out and do this to begin with, but I thought I would do it myself so I could share this experience with you guys. But this is a bit strange. I don't like the fact that it's not aligning right. And then that means when I screw this back on, it's probably going to do the same thing. It's going to poke into the side. We'll see. It threaded on pretty easily. And I'm not going to tighten this as tight as they had this before. I don't think there's really any need to. You just want to snug it up. It has that rubber O-ring in there. You just want to snug it up where it's not leaking. And I'm just going to do this by hand. There we go, initially. Alright, that should be good. And then we'll put the water back to it and see if we have any leaks. So let's open this one. And we should hear water fill this up. Okay, so it did fill it up. I don't see any leaks. Let's open this one. Oops, other way. Oops, yeah, this way. And then I'm going to close this bypass. Okay, so now you hear the water going through. Okay, that's good. Now I want to gurgle. I want to check that little leak that kind of appeared when I was trying to twist this off. If it continues to leak, I'll call the company. But we have no leaks around this, so that's good. And like I said, I just tightened it by hand this time. So everything's open. That one's closed. So now I want to put my salt and my other chemicals in here. So the first thing we'll do, I'll bring you up closer. So now I brought you over to, so you can see inside the tank. The next thing I'm going to do is add some of this liquid to the Res Up automatic feeder. You see, it's not quite down to the minimum line yet, but I'll put some in to bring that up. And like I said, that comes in a bottle like this that I get from the same place that sold us our water filter. It has a protective cap on it. I'll need to puncture that, get it out of the way. Okay, so you screw this top off here, and then you just pour it in. Let's see. And you see it coming up here on the line. So it won't take this whole bottle. Oh, almost. Okay, I'll stop there at the fill line. There's a little bit left in here. So I guess if it's all the way down, it would probably take this whole bottle. But I'll save this, and when it needs topped up a little bit again, I can just put the rest of this in there. And this, for those of you who are interested, is Res Care Liquid Water Softener Cleaner, all-purpose resin cleaner. I don't know if I said that or not. I talked about the beads that are in this little tank over here, but they're resin beads, and that's what kind of captures all of the impurities. Maintains water softness and water softener performance. Okay. So we've got that filled up. I put the cap back on here. All right. And you can probably see down on the salt, there's this blue kind of residue on the salt. And that's from this thing that sprays out. It sprays that on it. You can kind of see that residue. So I'm going to spread this out a little bit. Level it up. Blech. Okay, and now I'm going to add my salt to here. So these bags of salt are pretty easy to handle. Let me move you over just a bit. There we go. They come in a bag, 40-pound bag, and they have two handles on them, one on each end. So you can pick them up fairly easily and move them around. They're still 40 pounds, so if you're not very strong, or you might injure yourself with these, you might want to get somebody to help you move them around, but they're not too bad for me. And I think there's also an easy open. I almost cut that open with my razor, but here it says easy open bag. You're supposed to be able to pull. Let's see how easy open it is. Pull a handle. Easy open bag. Okay, how's it easy open? Oh, I see now. Okay, it's got a perforation here that I should be able to tear. Yeah, easy. There you go. So this kind of easy open. I'll tear that back. I just lift it up here. Pour it in. that's one bag. You see I still got room for another. Okay, that's the second bag, and really that's as high as you want to go when you fill. You really don't want to go any higher than this nozzle here. You definitely don't want to go up here, because this nozzle sprays this chemical into here in water, and then it goes through the salt, and then it picks it up to pump it back out and clean the unit. So that's good for that. We've got the 2 bags of salt in. We've got the res up, topped up, and we have the filter changed. So really, that is all we need to do today to service our water filtration system. And I'll put the lid back on here. There we go. And it twists the lock. And that should be it. So as always, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching. And remember to subscribe, press that like button, and remember to ring that notification bell so that when we post new videos, you'll be notified. Thanks for watching.